It seems to me like it should have been an emergency.
That's right.
For you all to have a plan for this community.
Him bringing in the New American Initiative was part of his contract. It was very clear in his contract that he was going to withdraw from having any financial interest and that he was bringing them in along with Harvard University and other organizations to try and help the Hempstead School District. The pushback on this issue makes no political, makes no social, makes no educational, and makes no professional sense.
How has your welcome been? I have a stack here of, I think, 11 press releases in 6 weeks that have been issued from the group Hempstead for Hempstead.
It's not a very warm welcome, that's for sure. The reality is anything that will institute a kind of change from the past can upset a lot of people. They're going to throw everything that they can, real or imagined, and in a single-minded effort to make sure that I don't continue doing the work that we're doing. I'm not here in a blame game. This is not, I just want to make sure we figure this out together as a community to help our kids move forward.
I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome back Trustee Johnson to the Board of Education.
5 months into Superintendent Warrenker's contract, the balance on the board shifted yet again, with New York State's Commissioner of Education reinstating ousted trustee Lamont Johnson, who she ruled was denied due process. The new majority was now stacked 3-2 against Dr. Warrenker.
I know for a fact the so-called majority of the board are for the children. We're putting the children first. That's our main objective, is for the students to do well in the Hempstead School District.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Gates?
Yes.
Trustee Still?
Yes.
In their first order of business,
Resolved, effective immediately, law firm of Razor and Kniff PC is hereby terminated from representing the Hempstead Junior Free School District.
the law firm Warrenker had asked to investigate suspected fraud in the district's food services. Why was that important to do so quickly and do it all?
I have no comment on that.
Also terminated the contract with Warrenker's New American Initiative, and his planning blasted as too slow.
You had June, July, August to have a plan for the children. You make over $250,000 a year. We don't need you to call in all your cronies. Randy Weimar, she don't get paid here, she don't work here. We're not interested in her solution. We need a plan from you. You've done nothing since you've been here.
What has he done since he's been here? Nothing.
Also fired days before Christmas, his 4 master teachers.
Shall no longer be employees of the district effective 12/22/17.
For the record, I'd like to say that I think this is the wrong way for a district to conduct its business.
The New American Initiative for $450,000 was not a budgeted item for the 2017-2018 school year. The master teachers, the 4 master teachers for $135,000 was also not budgeted for the 2017-2018 school year. And what that causes is when you have people vote, they vote for a budget, and we have to go by the budget they voted for.
You will answer the question of the citizen or we're not moving. She wants to know which one of y'all is not to be. What's the harm in answering the question, Shimon?
With Warrenker under attack, he went on the offensive, posting an unprecedented open letter on the district website accusing the new board majority of sabotaging his efforts to fix the district.
If the adults are fighting, we can't help the children. We can't stop things midway and say, well, no, we don't feel like having this program. Like the New American Initiative was doing tremendous work so that we could help reorganize our schools, reorganize our contracts so that we can improve student outcomes. In fact, I put in the contract when I was being hired that I would have to be able to use organizations that I've worked for in the past, such as Harvard, the New American Initiative, the New York City Leadership Academy, that I wanted to partner with these folk. And I put in the contract that I would not benefit financially in any way, shape, or form from these organizations. And I have not.
He also informed the board he was talking to law enforcement.
Every person in the Hempstead School District and everybody else looking from the outside needs to be suspect about all these firings, about all the turning out of individuals who are looking under the rocks where there may be very big concerns about issues of potential corruption.
The reality is there is deep and endemic corruption in the district. And it is very important that we work collaboratively to root out the corruption, because the money's not going to the kids. We're one of the lowest paid districts in Nassau County, and yet we have one of the largest budgets in Nassau County. Okay, where's the money going? And so this is why the special investigators that we had hired to start rooting out the corruption were very important. The fact that the board let them go is critical.
They don't want him there. They are just preventing him to do his job, to accuse him of failure.
Hempstead, unfortunately, has a reputation, and not many.
Dr. Warner, please don't put that out there. You know, as a leader of people, you have a responsibility to see the problem, but come with a solution. You don't get to constantly give us a commentary on what we're not. We don't want to hear that. At some point, you have to stop. You have to stop using the negative of why people don't want to come to Hempstead. You came to Hempstead. You didn't have a problem. So stop putting people on. I don't want to hear that out of you ever again. Tonight, the last night you used that commentary. It is so disrespectful to the people that are paying your salary every month.
Not many people want to come to Hempstead to be abused. And I just want to show you. I will stand up for the children. I will do whatever it takes to help the children. And I don't mind taking the abuse. However, I want to share with you, that is a reality that is happening.
Stop it! You're causing it! You're allowing it!
No.
You're allowing it!
With the cat calling and all the name calling, I'm going to share with you. Not many people want to be able to do this. And what I'm saying to you is, if we collaborate, if we have civil if we talk things through, instead of doing a blame game, we try to help one another, we can move the district forward to help the children. This is why I want to say,
those that were on the board originally had the majority, and they did what they wanted to, and they shoved the superintendent down our community's throat. They have disrespected us on every level. If you create that kind of atmosphere, like in my home, I tell my children, if I speak to you with respect, you give respect, you get respect. They had the majority. They felt that they didn't have to respect us. I believe that he can do a good job, but you can't make it personal. He's making it personal when he brought his own company in to do the work, when he came in with this master teacher program. I do believe in mentoring, but I believe that those teachers can help our other teachers, but it shouldn't be your company.
I heard you calling this superintendent a racist.
Yes.
Do you truly believe he's a racist?
When you disrespect us to the level that he has done, to me that's a form of racism. When you come in and you pimp us out the way he has, that's a form of racism. You cannot come into this community, or any community, and raise their budget over $1 million from what we as taxpayers voted on last year. You cannot come and do that and it's okay. That's not the way it goes. So with the level of disrespect, you don't hear us, couldn't care less of how we feel about anything. You come in here with Randy Weingart and hold a meeting on a Sunday. Your Sabbath is Saturday and Friday evening. I have to respect yours, but you have no respect for mine. All that is, to me, just adds up to racism. And I have Jews in my family, so it has nothing to do with his culture. I'm used to his culture, I'm very familiar with it. But you can't raise yours and step on mine. Our house is on fire. Our school is our house that is burning down. We don't have time for you to come here and take 6 months to a year to come up with a plan. We need you to come and hit the ground running.
He's been a really polarizing factor. He proved himself to be divisive. Most of the people who are here are really looking for a leader and a superintendent who is going to bring vision, who is going to bring a strategic focus, who is going to have the ability to pull people together instead of someone who's dividing people.
Warnica is placed on administrative LOA with pay for 60 days.
Divisions clearly etched in the 3-2 vote that night. The new board majority suspending Warrenker, barring him from schools, and hiring investigators to look into his actions. And to underscore a sense of victory,
Fact of the matter is it violates my contract and violates the law. I think part of the reason is the open letter that was sent out on Sunday, sharing what's really going on in the district. To let go of a superintendent 7 months into his tenure, right, in the middle of the school year, requires a drastic reason. And quite frankly, there is no such drastic reason.
This board has shown its true colors, because if indeed they had any interest in furthering what needs to happen in the Hempstead School District, they wouldn't suspend him. They try and find a common ground and work with him. A Harvard-trained educator has come in with a broom to try and clean house, and people want to remain in a situation that is strewn with problems. He found it necessary to speak to outside governmental agencies, including law enforcement agencies, about what was going on in the Hempstead School District. And after that, and after his open letter, they then come down on him like a wall of bricks. Nothing could be more clear in terms of retaliation to try and silence someone that has pulled the sheets off a bed of vipers. If you want progress, you must have change. People don't want change. They want to be where they are, and the real question is why? Why is it so comfortable for you to be in this place where more than 50% of the children in the high school are not going to graduate?
Here this man is trying to do what's right, trying to reform the schools, the whole district, and this is how they treat him. Dr. Warnica did not have to come here. He was fine where he was. He didn't have to come here. But he saw a need and he saw a calling, and he said, I'm going to come and I'm going to help the children of Hempstead. To say that this man is here and he doesn't want the best for the children, it's a lie.
He had a philosophy. He's never run a district, in any district, no less Hempstead. And there's a different relationship when somebody has to deal with their board to get things done. And so you can have the most educated administrator in the world, if they haven't had the experience of working with the board and knowing how to handle a board, it becomes really difficult. And I think that's what happened here. And he got caught in the crossfire. They had pledged before he even started that he would be thrown out.
He wasn't given a chance. They definitely didn't want him. He was not what they were looking for. He was not anything close to what they would have accepted. He's too bright. And it's very hard to intimidate somebody if they're too bright.
The same week Warrenker was shelved, distinguished educator Jack Beerworth issued his recommendations, a long list of directives to revamp nearly every aspect of the long-struggling school district. Among the bleak stats in his report, decades of chronic financial mismanagement, 20 business superintendents in 21 years, millions of dollars in missed grants, millions spent on law firms that charged excessive fees, and a failure to follow recommendations of repeated audits. Warrenker, he wrote, had been drawn into the board's clear divisions, his master teachers putting undue strain on the district budget. The state gave the board just weeks to come up with a plan of action and a stern face-to-face ultimatum.
Are you alarmed by what you see going on in this district?
Of course we are. That's why we've put a distinguished educator in Hempstead, and we feel like that is helping us to move the district. We're aware of the changes that need to occur, and we want to make sure that the trustees are equally as seriously concerned.
We are at a point that, given the report and given the sense of urgency, that we want to make sure that the board understands, by both of us being here, that this is critical.
The message was a no-nonsense message. and we have to get our act together, and we're going to get our act together.
We need the state. You sent all these kids here. Our buildings are overcrowded. We have students sitting on the floor. We have students eating lunch on the floor. We have gang violence left and right every day. We need the state here. We need all governing bodies to pull together and let's get our act together for the students. It's no shame in having the state here. Where have they been? We need them.
A familiar call here in Hempstead.
Who's going to step up to put out the fire? And that's the question we're dealing with today.
Do you want the state to step in?
I think the state needs to step in. I don't think we have a choice.
The echoes of calls for state help now reaching New York's governor. We asked him what the state will do.
If you don't have a real, credible, immediate plan for correction, then the state should come in and take over the school.
A plan must be developed in a very, very short time, in the next 3-4 weeks. They don't have to do everything that's there, but they have to come up with the plan of how they're going to do it. If they don't, the commissioner does have some power
to remove elected board members.
Right, the commissioner does, and under the distinguished educator law that's in, the next step would be to replace the board. And that can be done. When the board is dysfunctional, and because of the nature of how people get elected and why they're elected, I don't see any way out unless there is some kind of different governance.
Because so many people are on the payroll, you're saying.
That's right. And when you have elections on Long Island, in school board elections, where 10 to 15% of the people vote, to get those 10 or 15% of the people, and you have a big staff that you've hired for the district, those people can certainly get the majority of the 10 or 15%. And so a lot of it has to do with not just the governance, but the fact that the people of the district don't care enough to vote. If people from Hempstead don't see what's going on and make some changes in how they vote, then it's another indication that you really need to have some other form of governance.
All mention of Waronker was now purged from the district website. His open letter and district plans wiped. Next to get the boot, his high school principal.
I was terminated by the Board of Education last night, effective immediately. No reason was offered. I think the district is rooted in corruption that has persisted for many years, and the people who've been brought in to make positive changes are now being eliminated, while the people who've been here for many years retain their jobs.
In Waronker's place, the board majority tapped this longtime district administrator and returned Stephen Strawn as high school principal.
Unfortunately, the way that the principal, Dr. Strong, was released from duties was improper, and I believe the best thing to do was to bring him back to restore order. The community at heart is in favor of the decisions that were made last night. So this community is not ran by New York Communities for Change. It's not ran by Mr. Frederick Brewington and his offices. It's ran by Hempstead. We are Hempstead Tigers, and that's what we do. You got to have love for Hempstead to understand. We had improvements with Dr. Strong.
But newly released 2017 graduation numbers by New York State would show the opposite. There was no increase to 53% under Strong, but actually a drop back to 37%. And the state would now send investigators to review if credit hours on transcripts were real. Even his own credentials were now in question. Chelsea University in England on Strawn's resume, where he lists a doctoral degree with high honors, was, according to the governing body of higher education in the UK, not accredited.
It was clear that Stephen Strong's doctorate was bogus. The school that he received his certification from is actually a degree mill.
As a school board trustee, Melissa Figueroa chose Waronker as superintendent to turn around the district, but then she was voted out. Often shouted down at school board meetings, Figueroa called for the forensic audit of district finances going back 10 years. But before auditors could get their hands on records stored at this vacant school, fire broke out, ruled suspicious by the fire marshal.
Fire destroys a school district's vital records, and tonight there are questions as to whether the fire was set on purpose.
When you have the same folks who have been running the district for generations, we owe it to ourselves to take a closer look at the record keeping of the district. Follow the money trail. Who are the people who are responsible for the demise of this district? There's blood on the streets and the children are suffering.
The high school principal whom I removed, I found that he was fudging numbers, both for a number of weapons that were being brought to the school, as well as academic records. And yet, not only did they bring him back, they granted him tenure. And they paid him for all the time he wasn't working. I believe that the only reason why they brought him back was because he was going to make the high school look good. The numbers are not going to be real, though. And that's criminal for the children. There's a lawsuit to reinstate me in my position as superintendent of schools of Hempstead School District.
What's at stake here is seriously whether or not Hempstead is going to change its ways or not, and that's where we are. This is a crossroads.
I have never, in my entire professional career, and I have visited schools in almost every continent of the world, I have never seen what I have seen in Hempstead. That students who fail algebra are promoted into geometry, and who fail geometry are promoted into trigonometry. I have never seen this.
It just goes to show the pattern of what happens in Hempstead. Anytime anything good starts, they try to change it and it turns into something bad. They're trying to hide something. This man came with a plan to help these children that they haven't had for years. And now they want to get rid of him. So what are they hiding? That's all I want to know. What are they hiding?
I believe the judge will make a just decision. That's all I'm able to say at this time.
I want to remind the community that the school board now, the majority, as you like to say, are working diligently with the distinguished educator, working diligently with our acting superintendent to make sure that we address those concerns. So I do take exception as a member of the community being told, one, that we don't like Dr. Warnker because he's a Jewish, he's of the Jewish faith. I take exception to the fact that, two, he claims that someone from the community has set a building with records on fire. Exception to the fact that we could find money to pay for everybody who formerly worked for his company that he started, but we can't find money to make sure we address the facilities issues, address the money to make sure that we have textbooks for our students. But then again, I have the heart of Hempstead, and no matter what anybody say, Hempstead is okay with the decisions that was made by the board.
Is that really the best use of school district funds now, to investigate Dr. Warnker?
We have to do what we have to do. But I'll tell you one thing, the best use of funds is not paying $450,000 that was never budgeted to some people who used to work for him in a company that he started and that he was the CEO.
The fate of the school district was for now in the hands of a federal judge. Court documents offered a scathing view of the district he was tasked with turning around. The board majority offered up its own sworn statements. Warnker was not suspended because he spoke out, but because of his questionable hiring of master teachers and his use of the New American Initiative. They claim it was a possible act of criminal bid rigging. The suspension needed, they argued, to investigate other areas of possible improper, illegal, unethical, or inappropriate conduct, including Warnker's failure to implement a violence suppression and facilities maintenance plan, failure to submit a grant application on time, and his failure to explain to the board why he terminated Principal Strawn.
Why do I think he shouldn't prevail? He's not here for the children, and that's what it should be all about.
Why do you think he did come to Hempstead?
That's the question. And hey, they gave him the checkbook to the district. Anyone that gave him a contract like that gave him a checkbook, an open checkbook to the district. And as taxpayers, we're not standing for it. Tell me, what has he done in 7 months other than rape this district financially, and I'll keep quiet? Tell me 2 things that he has done other than feed companies that he either founded or is a part of, and I'll keep quiet, and that's where I end.
Complete lies.
Complete lies.
Complete lies. He's
No.
here for the children. He's always been here
Never.
for the children. That's
Okay.
why we brought him in.
They are lying. So everything you see this man doing with his compassion is for the children. So everybody should be behind him.
This district has been raped for how many years? 25?
Decades.
30?
Decades.
They didn't say anything about that.
Right.
They didn't say anything about that and did nothing for the children. He came with a plan for the children. Listen, I believe nobody's completely honest except my God in heaven. But I'm going to tell you something. He came with a plan for these children, and he had a lot of help. He really wanted to turn things around for these children. But they've had the opportunity for years, and they never did anything. A 37.5% graduation rate? They shouldn't even open their mouths.
Things didn't go Warrenker's way in court. The judge denied a temporary order to return him to his job and his claim his rights had been violated.
Today, we lost a battle in an ongoing war for the children who continue to suffer in Hempstead.
Your reaction to the decision, Lamar?
I think it was a fair decision by the judge. He looked through the facts and he made a just decision.
Do you intend to get him out?
I have no comment on the status of the superintendent.
There's always a disappointment when you lose at one level, but this is only one level. We did this, one, hoping the court would see what was going on, which he did, and he commented on that. But two, that we might be able to raise the gambit of this conversation in a place that wasn't in a auditorium where people were being shouted down and told to hit the road jack.
I'm especially disappointed for the children and the teachers and the parents of the school district of Hempstead, because I've heard their cries and they're still calling me and asking when I'm going to return.
What we've been dreaming for and hoping for to come to Hempstead finally had walked through the door in June. And then all of a sudden it was just taken from us. Children can't read. Children can't add, subtract. They can't multiply. Some of them can't even write script. But he wanted to know, and these are the things that we told him. The majority of the teachers felt like, okay, there's a chance that Hempstead can turn around. We can actually make a difference in their lives. And then change was swept right from underneath us.
As the board plodded ahead with the required plan of action, civility was not required at board meetings.
The district has nothing to hide. The district should not act this way.
The state criticized much of their corrective plan as inadequate, but progress came in the form of a new business and security consultants, new vocational classes, and a community bond vote to build a new elementary school. The board clashed next on whether to continue to fund the forensic audit, which was raising red flags about payroll practices. 129 former employees still getting paid. 500 employees collecting checks as vendors, and unusual trends like duplicate payments and checks written on weekends.
The forensic auditors are finding that there are a lot of employees who also have shell companies who are benefiting from the students. Having the truth come out is not one of the things that is in the interest of many of the members in the community. It is criminal what is taking place in Hempstead. So far, it's the tip of the iceberg.
It's just, to me, a way of us not rooting out the fraud, waste, and abuse.
The board was now moving funds out of teacher salaries to pay lawyers investigating the New American Initiative, the same lawyers the Distinguished Educators Report claimed had overcharged the district, plus paying $5,000 a month for public relations to the same firm that represented Hempstead for Hempstead, and Dr. Warrenker sitting out his suspension in his Brooklyn home.
This is not how a school district should operate. The teachers work hard, and it seems that they're going in circles. It's greed from on top. This has been going on for years. There's no systems in place. It just continues to spiral downward, and we need a change. The state doesn't seem to care. They don't seem to want to step in and help. They just seem to have a blind eye. It's sad that these children are not getting the education that they're entitled to.
They're investigating me. Quite frankly, this is when the thief, so to speak, to make sure that nobody's looking at the thief, says, "Oh, look, there's the thief," right? And pointing at an innocent bystander, so that the attention is placed elsewhere. Now, the reality is, I've done nothing wrong. I've come in with best of intentions. To rob from the kids, it's the opposite of the reason why I came. Look, the history of the crookedness in Hempstead far preceded me. I didn't institute the crookedness that's taking place there. I was coming to remove it. That's why I was removed.
He didn't look like the rest of the population. His religion was different. It bothered me about the fact that people looked at him differently than they would have somebody else who did look like them.
I have a deep-rooted faith that we are here to create a heaven on earth. That's our mission in life. Whichever way it is that we have to do it. And when one walks into Hempstead and sees a hell created on earth for our children, our mission is to change that.
If my work is done in Hempstead, then I just have to believe that something good will come of this, that good will overcome the evil that exists.
And all that is just a false narrative, claims the board majority, by those who don't share their love for Hempstead.
We've been working together to move this district along. There's been other people who've been working against the district and want to see the district fail, and I take exception to that.
Exception taken also to the distinguished educator's latest words of caution.
There are a lot of things that I would say that are still of concern.
Trust me, if the state want to take this district over and remove this board, when we get it back, I will run and I will win again. Point blank.
Everyone does not have to get along, but I can say myself personally, I have not been disrespectful to any board member. I've handled myself as a gentleman. Board does not have to get along. This is a democracy. That's why it's 5 members on the board. So the majority, whoever the majority is, I didn't make the majority who it is. The people voted. This whole narrative about 30 years of corruption, nepotism, and things of that nature, guess where I was 30 years ago? I graduated in 1989, so guess where I was 30 years ago? Right here in the same school. The past few years, we've had several students that have been accepted to Ivy League schools. Okay? We have board members, we have other people from the community. They don't get that information out. Leadership that's supposed to believe in the school, okay? The leadership of the school is for education. It's not to play make-believe that they're attorney general or prosecutor and anything else. They can do an investigation all they want, because when Mike Johnson's hands is clean, Randy Stiff's hands is clean, and Dr. Gates' hands are clean. So whatever investigation that may involve, whoever it may involve, I have no problem with the investigation. But I will say it here, and I'm not saying a name of anyone, but I want NAI part of that investigation. It's a negative narrative. If you don't believe in the students, if you believe Hempstead is so bad, you should not be here.
What about believing the numbers? New York State in May released its review of student transcripts. It found before Warren Kerr's arrival, the high school highly exaggerated the number of students taking the minimum number of credits. Only 57% of 11th graders, not the 90% the district had reported. The findings could result in the appointment of an independent receiver to run Hempstead schools. What is not a false narrative, say teachers, is a school system in the running for last place in the nation in turning out graduates.
These children that we have are capable of so much more if they were just given the guidance, given the support, given the structure that all children deserve, especially here in the United States, where education is free and it's a right that we all have. They're being cheated by a system that's in place that turns a blind eye to egregious acts, such as passing a child along just to get them out of the building.
The end of this story, a cliffhanger.
I hope that good will prevail over the darkness that has fallen upon the district. And I also hope that we will do what we're supposed to do, what we all committed ourselves to do, which was to educate students to become productive members of society.
The cliffhanger is this. There are two unknowns right now. Obviously, what is going to happen with me vis-a-vis the district. And there are still a lot of good guys out there, and those good people are going to make sure that they hold these folk accountable and that the right thing is done for the kids.